Everybody, welcome to this week's special pod. We're back with the special episodes, Phil. This time it's the Book of Boba Fett. We skipped over Hawkeye, I think. Maybe we should have done a Hawkeye show, but I think we're better off. I don't think anything really happened in that show. We were going to do like a review, but we never got to it.
Well, and then this one started up right away.
Yeah, exactly. It was the holidays.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to say anything too bad about Hawkeye. I enjoyed it. I just want to say fun. I want to say the first half was kind of dull. The second half was pretty darn good. That was my thing. Anyway, Book of Boba Fett's here.
Yep.
And bunch of Star Wars nerds. And first off the bat, I want to say nothing happened in this episode and everything happened in this episode at the same time, right? Because it's very what happened-ish, and we had a single fight in town. That was the only thing that we have that moved the timeline forward. So
yeah, it's definitely a little bit of sort of setting the stage, world building, and when you have to do that sort of in two places, like current timeline and the flashbacks, it was a little bit, I don't know if dry is the right word, but at the same time, they gave you enough, I think, little nuggets, especially for Star Wars fans, that it was entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, you got to see Boba Fett come out of the Sarlacc pit. It was great.
Yeah,
you got to.
Yeah,
see
everybody just wanted to see that. We all knew it happened, but to see the way they did it, and that was pretty good. How we found a stormtrooper in there. Who knows how long he was in there for? But that was pretty cool, and he got out, and so now we know officially how it happened.
And I think it's been done in the comics, right? But now it's official, like on screen, right?
It was done in like the extended universe and comics and stuff. So now it's canon how it happened. It was slightly different in the comics and stuff.
So I want to skip right ahead to the bar scene, cantina scene, whatever you want to call it, where they go to collect their tribute from the bar.
The sanctuary.
The sanctuary, yes. Why can't the Galactic Star Cruiser look like that?
Well, maybe it will. Maybe when it's finally done and there's actual people in there and stuff, it will. But yeah, I mean, they should just use that as the marketing for it. Like, this is what it'll be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, the one thing is that the Twi'leks look completely different, just from the makeup point of view. Like, I was trying to figure out what was the proper words for that. Is in the commercials for it, their skin was all shiny. It looked like just like a rubber mask somebody was wearing.
Yeah.
This one, it was the person's face with obviously prosthetics and everything else, blended nicely, and that can't be that much longer for a makeup job, right? Because the first one looked like completely coated with makeup to make them blue. This one was, aged and whatever. Anyway, I just the first thing I was like, if he just made the singer look like that, half the complaints probably would have gone away. Okay, so a couple things. First, what we kind of mentioned while we were just watching this, the timeline, right? So that's the interesting part of this is this takes place 5 or 6 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
So Boba Fett's basically been on Tatooine the whole time.
As far as we know, yeah.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
And it takes place, or it starts off with him in a bacta tank, and you're wondering what injuries is he trying to heal. Obviously, his skin doesn't look as corroded as it was at the beginning. So that gets me to ask the first question, Phil. How long was he with these Sand People?
Yeah, it seems like it was probably for a good chunk of it, because the first time we see him in The Mandalorian, he has the Tusken Raider Jaffe staff and stuff like he's got their weapons, and he kind of seems to be in the desert. So if he's not still with them, he it's still kind of living as they live, for lack of a better word. So it probably was so it's probably he's either with them for most of the time, or similar lifestyle for most of the time.
Yeah, I want to apologize for my recording camera. It seems to be skipping a beat here and there. So then we see him get his armor. So he must not have had his armor for about 5 years or so.
Yep.
I guess he's still trying to recover from his injuries if he's still going to the bacta tank. When he's in Jabba's palace, he has that kind of setup. I thought that was kind of interesting. Is he that weak? Because he didn't appear weak in The Mandalorian. He was kicking butt back then.
Yeah, so I don't know if it was just still those old injuries or kind of wearing on him, or if something new happened. But clearly his in his skin looks even better than it did look in The Mandalorian. So it's obviously been helping. But I guess just over time it hadn't fully healed.
So do you think we're going to get just more Boba Fett history? Because obviously we saw Clone War shots. We see the Sand People. Is this going to be like half or like 30% history and 30% story moving forward? Where do you think they're going to go with that?
I think so, because looking at the title of this episode and even the name of the series, the Book of Boba Fett. So like this episode was called Stranger in a Strange Land, which there's a famous science fiction book, but that title, it's about somebody who was born on Mars and then comes to Earth. So he's human, but not used to living on Earth, which and also takes its name from a line in the Bible, which has to do with Moses, who again was raised with Pharaoh and then had to go back to the Hebrews. So again, living not as he was used to. So we see that in two ways in this with Boba Fett, right? Like he's not used to living with the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders, but he's also not used to the ways of a crime lord, right? Like Fennec has to keep saying like, no, don't do that. Don't do this. You should be riding on a litter and stuff like that. So he's kind of finding his way, right? And so like with the Bible, everything like that was in the book of Exodus, which is about the journey of the Hebrews. This is the Book of Boba Fett. So I think it's going to be his whole journey. Like how did he become, who he became and become the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy, and then ultimately taking over as this crime boss.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Now, and speaking of the crime boss aspect of things, he appears to not have that much staff about him. We saw the Gamorrean guards finally fight, which was really cool. But Jabba's palace looks very clean, right? It's he has some janitor services obviously working for him. But how is he taking over as a crime lord, but then he's got like two people and people are paying him respect? That's interesting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's just from the title and from taking over from Bib Fortuna. But yeah, he's clearly going to have to prove his worth and that he's worthy of being there. And so maybe that'll be part of it, is building up the rest of his staff.
Because it's obviously they're going to do something, because he's like, I'm going to rule with respect rather than fear.
Yeah.
We saw promos of him sitting around the table with other bosses, that type of thing. So that's going to be
very Godfather-ish.
Exactly. I thought Boba Fett would fight better when he got surrounded by those dudes in the market.
Yeah, I had seen some comments about that. People also wondering why he didn't just use his jetpack to get out of the circle and stuff. You definitely saw that when he got a hold of somebody and he kind of got like the crazy eyes and smashed them and stuff like that, that he definitely has some strength to him. But at the same time, obviously, his skills weren't quite as good or at least he wasn't able to show them off like we saw in The Mandalorian a little bit.
I'm kind of wanting to say, like, why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to accomplish much. Because the first thing is, like, he sets off his flamethrower or a blast right at the shields. Like, you could just go underneath the shields. It's fire, right? I don't know. I don't think anything's gained by going kind of down that road anyway.
No, it's just, I mean, I guess the more interesting question is exactly who those people were they sent by the mayor, who he kind of didn't give tribute to, or I mean, I think that's the number one assumption out there, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the mayor, only because it was just foreshadowed earlier in the episode. So he's going to have an adversary, he's going to overcome it, and what have you. The first episode was very good. It was very on point with the style of Star Wars moving forward.
Yeah.
The sets are still good, the writing is still good, the music's still awesome.
Yep, same composer that did The Mandalorian, though he kind of added, it's got its own flavor to it, but it definitely is you can tell it's the same composer.
So I'm kind of digging the whole thing. There really isn't much to comment other than we got to see some cool stuff. I love the look of the new Sand People with like the black rather than just all the tan robes, that type of thing. I thought. I think
this looks like it might be a different tribe. Mm-hmm. That's more, I guess, nomadic. They don't have those more permanent huts. They just had tents. So it's interesting, though.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to learn more about the Sand People? Because we kind of got the sense of like it's a sign language and how they communicate. Do you think we're going to kind of get more in depth, or I would have to assume, because that's part of his story, right? If we're going to do like 50-50 story, 50 and then 50% like crime lord stuff, I think that
definitely. I mean, I don't know how much more we'll learn, but definitely more about kind of their setup and how he, I guess, got more in their good graces and stuff. Learn little things. I don't know how much more they can show us, but I guess we'll find out.
I mean, that was going to be my next question. Is like, how much more can they show of his pre-Mandalorian time without just starting to drag on, right? Because it could get to a point where, like, can we see him be, an awesome crime boss and start doing that type of thing rather than, Yes, we know he's with the Sand People, but like all things Star Wars right now, we always know how it's going to end, right?
Yeah.
So they might say, let's fill in another gap inside another gap type of thing. I just hope they maybe spend half of the next episode with him, showing him getting their respect and gaining his strength and learning this, that, and the other, and then that's it, and then all of a sudden the story takes off with the rest of them.
Yeah, and I wonder if they'll show more flashbacks from earlier. The first two flashbacks they showed were from Camino, and it was, you could see the Slave One there. I don't know if maybe that was the flashback to the scene when he left with his father and they fought off Obi-Wan. And then obviously they showed the scene in Geonosis when he had his father's helmet and stuff like that, which obviously also involves the Jedi. So I don't know if there's anything going to be there. How he still feels about the Jedi. He wasn't on the ship at the end of Mando season 2, so he didn't meet Luke then. So how does he feel about Jedi? I don't know if that'll come up, but just more about that time frame, like when he first became, a bounty hunter. Are we going to learn more about that?
Do we want to learn more about that right now? With the 7 episodes in this?
Yes, this one's 7 episode. Yeah.
Do we really want to kind of? I mean, it'd be neat to see him,
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some things, about him that people want to know. There's all the speculation. Will we find out how he got his dent in his helmet and stuff like that, which was covered in a never released video game, but that's it. Like things like that. So are we going to find out more of those tidbits, or is it really just going to be maybe a little bit more with the Tusken Raiders and then more about the mob boss stuff?
If we're going to find out anything key that's way before, this time, it's going to be like traumatic experiences. That's what he's having dreams of. Death of his father, the pain and anguish of being beat up by Sand People, being in the desert, that type of thing. So those all come in dream forms. I don't think we're going to get too much more dreaming about the day-to-day life of it. I mean, it's supposed to be like nightmarish type or anxiety type of thing. So it's got to be, I think it might skip ahead a couple different things and then maybe go on to some other stuff. Okay, we're about 12 minutes in. I only wanted to keep these nice and 15-minute hot takes. There's again, like I said, nothing really happened in this episode, but a lot happened in this episode. But it was mostly like eye candy and satisfying moment. Thing.
I think everyone probably got excited when they go into the cantina and you saw Max Rebo. Obviously, that was a nice moment for me.
Yes,
knowing that he didn't die on the sand barge when it went down, so that's good to know.
Escaped.
And you also see an RX droid like Rex, DJ Rex at the cantina in Galaxy's Edge was there, I guess, as a dealer. It looked like playing some of the card games and stuff. So lots of little fun things there. So we'll see what. Obviously, that's a major character. The owner of that cantina. So we'll see where that goes going forward. Yeah,
she'll definitely come back. All right, guys, thanks for watching and listening. Hope you enjoyed the Book of Boba Fett and its launch. I think it's getting quite a bit of praise online. Everybody's psyched about it. There's no disappointment that I've seen or anything else like that. Nope. Everybody's been, at the very least, saying that was pretty good. And that was kind of like
it's just nice to have some live action Star Wars back. It's been a little while. We had the Bad Batch, but that's about it last year. So
we can do we have an episode where I go on a tirade that we were going back and forth with on Discord? Some good Star Wars discussion was to be had earlier this week. That maybe if you want to go on there and scroll back up, you can see some of my hot takes. That being said, guys, you won't see us into the new year. So happy New Year's if you're watching this before January 1st, and we've got some predictions that we're going to make and go over some of the predictions that we made a year ago.
Last year.
Some of them aren't too bad, actually.
Wow, that's exciting.
They're in Discord, by the way, Phil. I linked it.
Yes, I know. I need to go through it. Yes.
They're not. There's no craziness in there. It's like, okay, we were pretty measured. Anyway, I've said anyway 3 times. I'm gonna end it here. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.